Won't you buy my nice fresh ivy?
For over 100 years, members of the McPeakes family have travelled the world performing their music. But every Christmas they return home, and on one special night they gather to swap stories, songs and poems of the supernatural.
However, it's about the famine, and this man is leaving. He's a young man, he's leaving the country for good. He was married, and she died at the first baby. And he buried the two of them in the churchyard. So this is what he said to her. I'm sitting on a stile, Mary, where we sat side by side on a bright May morning long ago when first you were my bride. The corn was springing fresh and green, and the lark sang loud and high. The red was on your lip, Mary, the love light in your eye. The place is little changed, Mary, the day's as bright as then. The lark's loud song is in my ear, and the corn is green again. But I miss the soft clasp of your hand, and your breath warm on my cheek. I still keep listening for the word you nevermore will speak. It's but a step down yonder lane, the little church stands near. It's the church where we were wed, Mary. I see the spire from here. But the graveyard lies between, Mary, and my step might break your rest. For I've laid you, darling, down to sleep with your baby on your breast. Yours was the good, kind heart, Mary, that still kept hoping on. When the trust in God had left my soul, and my arm's young strength was gone, there was comfort ever on your lip and a kind look on your brow. I thank you, Mary, for the same, though you cannot hear me now. I'm very, very lonely now, Mary, for the poor make no new friends, although they love the better still, the few our Father sends. And you were all I had, Mary, my blessing and my pride. There's nothing left to care for now, since my poor Mary died. I'm bidding you long, long farewell, my Mary, kind and true, but I'll not forget you, darling, in the land I'm going to. Oh, they say there's bread and work for all, and the sunshine's always there. But I'll not forget dear Ireland, where 50 times as fair. And often in these grand old woods I'll sit and shut my eyes, and the thoughts will travel back again to the place where Mary lies. And I'll think I see the little stile where we sat side by side in the springing corn, in bright May morn, and first you were my bride.
There are many traditions celebrated all over the world which began in Ireland, like carving lanterns. But that actually started because of a man called Jack of the Lantern. Jack was known locally as a drinker and a gambler. But people back then didn't know just how evil Jack really was. Jack was a watchman to watch the church and the graveyard because people used to rob the graves. But Jack had other thoughts on his mind. He used to watch the rich people and he would plan to rob them. Now, what Jack would do, he would go and break into people's houses and go up the stairs, and he would take the candle out of his lantern and he would put red hot coals and embers into it, just to let the light be a dull red glow. Then he would go into the bedroom while the people were asleep, and he would lift his lantern and look into the people's face. And if they started to wake up, he put his hand over their face and he smothered ye. One night, Jack broke into the house of a girl called Kathleen, and he slipped across the bedroom floor, and he came closer and closer until he was at the end of her bed. And held the dim lantern up to Kathleen's face to make sure she was asleep. But Jack didn't know that she had heard the stories about someone smothering people in their beds at night, and when the light of Jack's lantern started to waken her up, she pretended to be asleep, and just as Jack was leaving the room, she opened her eyes and she recognized him as the watchman Jack. Well, the next day she was able to tell everybody that it was the watchman who had been robbing the houses and murdering the people in their beds. A while later, Jack was due to be hanged, and it was on a Christmas Eve. And Kathleen didn't want to go anywhere near the hanging, so she stayed at home and knelt down to say her prayers. When she heard the door opening and someone coming in, but she had this strange feeling that she shouldn't open her eyes. She started to pray and knew not to open her eyes to look. Just then, the church bells rang, and whatever it was gone. Well, people thought, because it had happened at the same time as Jack had been hanged, that maybe it was he who came and stared into her face. And who knows what would have happened if she had have opened her eyes. They say that Jack still walks about in winter from house to house and from room to room. And if you waken up, he puts his hand across your mouth and nose, and you never waken up again.